North America and the UK, and we've been on this journey, kind of learning how new workflows are impacting the way that we make media. Personally, I'm passionate about this because I've been a storyteller for 18 years now, and I really do believe the stories we tell today shape the world that we live in tomorrow. So the creatives that are here, that come to these type of conventions, they're really the visioneers of the world that we see. Now, to give you an idea of where we started, 2 years ago, we created our own studio, and it was in Tampa, Florida during the pandemic. And it launched us into this idea that, maybe the world needs more than one virtual production stage, because the ability to go anywhere but all in the studio was something that started out as a necessity during COVID, turned into a luxury shortly after, and now is going to, I believe, be essential moving forward. But a quick overview of how the technology works. The LED volume that you see here is essentially all the technology of a VR headset, but at the scale of an IMAX theater. So it does perspective tracking. You're able to do real-time virtual environments that to the camera are indistinguishable between what's real and not real. And so in this image you see here, we have a real semi-truck, but then there's about 8 digital duplicates of that. The same scale as what we see of the physical truck, but virtually represented. And in camera, because the camera can't distinguish, it all appears real. There's no divide between the physical and the virtual. And so what you're seeing here with green screen used to take 7 to 8 days to go back and composite all the scenes to this commercial. Now it takes 7 to 8 seconds. It's real time. What you see is what you get, final pixel right into camera. Now that's amazing, but the problem is it's very, very fast to do production. It's very, very slow to do creation. So it may take you 3 months to create the environments before you bring it into the stage and shoot it very quickly. And that's where I see generative AI coming into play. Now, to give you an overview of our network, these are the 22 stages we have here in North America and the UK. And 4 of them we own and operate, the dark pink ones. That's Las Vegas, Nashville, Tampa, and Orlando. The other 18 we support, so we help remotely manage. We do shared resources. And the network has been really great because you start to get network effects. Just like the internet back in the day, when the internet hits any industry, it disintermediates it because it takes what is just 1 + 1 = 2 to synergize it. 1 + 1 could equal 5, or 1 + 1 could equal 10. And so what we see in network effects of virtual production studios is that those assets needed to create in virtual environments can now be shared across the network, and you don't have to start from scratch anymore. In fact, across 22 studios, there may be 500 different deserts that have been made over the years. All of those are options that you could start from. There's not just fully baked environments, but individual 3D assets that you may want to call on. That's all available. And then talent pooling, too. Work used to be a place. Now it's a verb. It doesn't matter where you're at. You can do work anywhere. And so being able to be connected to a virtual production stage in London and be able to work with a team in LA, that is something that is now possible. Now, let me take you through where we see AI intersecting with virtual production. And this is essentially the evolution model that you see of any digitization or virtualization of any company. The example I like to give at this is that when you look at how media used to be distributed, if you were to go get a film from Blockbuster, you had to physically go to the store. You had to go up and down the aisles, the library of all the different movies, pick it out, take it home. It was a very analog process to do that. But then when Netflix came along in 1997, they began doing DVD by mail. And we got this network effect where you didn't have to go anywhere because in your mailbox would show up the DVD that you wanted. And this is really good, but it's still part analog because the Postal Service still had to be the one to distribute that to you, but they did have this efficiency of the network. Now, in 2007, when Netflix went fully digital, when they took that DVD and they put it into the server and made that server accessible to your home, they got digital singularity. And digital singularity is the point at which you buy it digitally, you see it digitally, it transfers digitally, it stores digitally, so the entire process is digital. Where we're at in the virtual production continuum right now is that we're in that middle stage where it used to be just one studio with the virtual background, and now we're getting the network effects of having multiple studios connected But we're soon approaching the point where we're going to hit virtual singularity. And that means that there will be no studio. And conceptually, that's hard to think about today because dematerializing any practical part of a business, there's no quick analogy to that. But if you think about the arc of all great technology, this is what happens. Netflix got to the point that they dematerialized all of the media. There was no media. Frame.io is here today. And last year, they announced that their belief is there will be no onboard media on cameras in the future. We went from the days where we used to have film, and you would actually expose the film, have to develop the film, bring it to a new form in digital, edit it, and then carry on. We hit the digital singularity on the production side when the same mode and method that you were capturing was in digital form. It was the same method that you were editing in. So there was no hard break. But what is now becoming a possibility for cameras is that you won't capture anything. It'll go directly to the cloud. In fact, maybe it multiplies 10 times and backs up and distributes simultaneously. So this idea of cameras no longer needing media is a good analogy to us no longer needing stages in the future, that if you already have the assets of the person that you were recording, that you can motion capture and put that data onto them, that if you have all the backgrounds you needed for that you could then put that digital twin of the person in the space and be able to completely make the scene just virtually represented. This is a possibility that we're seeing now. One of the best things to see in the past 6 months has been the evolution of Stable Diffusion and Midjourney. 6 months ago, this was stick figures. This is not convincing to the eye that AI-generated art looks real. Today, there is so many portraits, so many things you can see online that are so hard to distinguish what's been made by man or what's been made by a computer, and this will continue to evolve. We've hit that point in the hockey stick where this isn't just going linear. The development and the evolution we're seeing now, it's not going exponential, it's going geometrical. I mean, we've hit the rocket ship moment, I believe, and how computers are now becoming artists. And so this is something we announced this week here at NAB of our new virtual studio platform that's trying to get us one step into what we believe will be virtual singularity. So here's a quick promo here to show you.
If I cut my hair, hope I grow it long back time like way before. If I wear it straight, will they like me more? Like those girls on front covers. Long hair, make them stay little longer. Stay hair, stay straight, though we feel ashamed by the curls, waves, and natural things. Curls, waves, and natural things. Oh, it's been so long since I had a song with a front was color. If I cut it all off, will it even grow? Need to grow back real long. Gotta prove them all. I don't want no struggles, I don't want no fears. I don't want no struggles, I don't want no fears. I don't want no struggles, I don't want no. Does it make sense to you? Why you cut it off? Cut it off.
All right, so I want to peel back the layer on this and show you a little bit about what we're doing here, because this is interesting. This platform has an orchestration layer on top of it, and the way that it works is similar to Siri on your phone. While you're inside of an app, if you ask Siri a question, it'll actually dig into other apps. If you want to know the weather, if you want to be able to look at an email, you can command the orchestration layer on top to go underneath. Now, what's unique about this orchestration layer, though, is it can connect to generative AI. So it can call up commands to bring AI-generated art into the application you're working on. Now, to show you a quick sample of this is an app that's actually free on the beta now. You can go and download it. It's called SceneForge. And this is a pre-visualization tool. So we can go into the virtual camera here. And when you look inside, you can select an area where we want to have the actual AI art go in. But you'll notice that the prompt window is on top of the application, and it's using GPT as a way to clarify the prompt. So it's a text-to-text. Now, we see the image come in, and it's actually segmented here on a 2.5D layer. And what's unique about this is now inside of the virtual world, we're getting some of that parallax that you would get with 3D environments. Now, it's not a full 3D mesh, so you're not going to get all of the moves that if you were to move forward towards it, or get at the wrong angle, you can break the effect. But as a pre-visualization, it's a pretty nice tool. But this is what makes it more interesting, is that if you zoom out of this layer, you'll see that all of that is built in a little part of the world. So that is a little studio or a little set represented on the other side, but we could co-create with multiple people in this world. So imagine just like a multiplayer game that you're shooting in this studio, someone else is shooting in another studio, someone's building an environment, someone's doing the audio, someone's doing the camera. You can get to the point where you see the entire process of production in the future may be a game that we play together. Now, what is most important to us right now is the headset data. So as we deploy this to our studios, the things that we're capturing is what the director says on the headset. I'm going to show you here what the back end of the orchestration layer looks like, and this is a sequence. This is a node-based sequence. So you'll see on the left, you can drag in some things like the suggested visuals here, put these together to DALL-E 2. But if we go to our main sequence at the top, you'll see the text input that was a push API into the orchestrator. And then it goes to a location prompt. This is a clarifying prompt, and then text to image, and then an output back. So we'll see inside of here, this is the image that was created back to the application. But what's unique about this is just one sequence. You could have multiple sequences. So say we had that same text command, and it came in, and then now we wanted to generate a script in that environment, or have a character prompt, or location, or a storyboard. You could start to see that in the pre-production process, the creative process, we can start to generate a lot of things, but they then go into the virtual world. So we're not generating them just to be used in the practical world. We're actually staying in that same virtual environment. Now, our belief is that eventually what will happen is if you get enough of these commands, the engine itself will become so powerful that we could co-create like this, taking natural language prompts and begin to describe them into the engine that they're full 3D meshes. So not just segmented images, but be able to fully command the world just off text prompts. And that's why we believe taking natural language processing into an orchestration layer is really the future of creating environments. You'll see the prompts here on the bottom, and this is just for visualization purposes, but imagine now taking this technology and walking into an LED volume. This is so similar to the holodeck. I think they nailed it years ago, because it could be possible that in the future, virtual production isn't shooting in front of the screens. It's standing in front of the screens and watching the world be made right in front of you. That you would just walk in and say, this is what I want to see, this is what I want to make, this is how I want it to look, and that the words you say transform into their visual equivalent right in front of you. And we're not too far from that now. If you look at some of the AI-based applications like Whisper, which is a natural language processing engine that can take that and put it into GPT, which then can take a text prompt and do an expanded text prompt, and then go to proliferate all of the other AI generative tech just off a few spoken prompts. You can build these worlds. So this is where I think that AI is going to be explosive in the future. And there is this line in the sand that a lot of creators are trying to figure out where they stand now, is that when computers took over the laborious parts of what we did, no one had a problem. Like computers rotoscoping, I don't think anyone's mad about that. But when computers take over the artistic parts of our job, the things that we like to have, the creative choices and touches, that's when it becomes a challenge. Are we crossing the line on the ethical pole of displacing people in a job that they love because AI is becoming so good at generating art? And I'm an AI optimist. I believe that anytime you create a meritocracy in which you allow a lot of people to participate in a new industry, the gravity in a meritocracy is upside down. Things go from the bottom to the top because you're giving people the ability, regardless of what their background is, regardless of what their tool set is, to compete on merit. And I think that's been shown across several industries over the years. If you look at photography, there used to only be a few thousand photographers when it was film photography. You had to have a distinct technical skill to know how to expose film properly, develop it, and get that look. When we got digital phones, now everyone had the ability to be a photographer. Hundreds of millions of people participate in photography now because of it. And so I think this is a democratizing thing that AI is going to allow more and more people to participate. So I'll open it up to some question and answers, but thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate the time. Any questions out there? Yep.
All right, so it's really interesting projection into the future of virtual stages and that kind of the evolution. So I kind of don't understand, at least based on your vision, how you see virtual stages being entirely removed from this equation outside of like participating in the studio environment for pre-visualization. Like, how are they being entirely removed from the process from top to bottom? Like, I think that's a part of your vision I'm not clear on.
So what I see is that everything now that is a physical part of the process will eventually be virtualized. Right now, we've only got the background. So the background makes a lot of sense to be virtual because for the most part, it's the most difficult part. Like logistically, I have to travel to Antarctica. Making that virtual is helpful. But I start to see that with what you just saw there, the camera can be virtual because in a virtual environment, you can get any camera move that logistically you can never get in the physical world. And if the camera's virtual, then the actor has to be virtual because that's a virtual camera in a virtual environment. So if you start to look at, well, how does the actor become virtual? If you look at what Unreal's done now with all of the metahumans, they are so photorealistic, it's very convincing that you could have a metahuman inside of a virtual world shooting on a virtual camera using virtual light. So if we look at pre-visualization tools, you go, all right, what's the point where we're going to hit photorealism on that? And if you look at it over time, I think we're talking less than 18 to 24 months here. And so it really begs the question, if we can do all of that virtual, then what is the stopping point? And I think it's the orchestration of all the AI to do that for us. And so that's kind of the logic that I've got to how everything will become virtualized and then how we'll co-create in that world, with those virtual materials. It's a great question. Any other questions?
Right now, you're showing us kind of 2.5D versions of grabbing things from Midjourney. Is it up to Epic or another company to have 3D models for basically instead of Midjourney giving us like a 2D plane? Is there companies out there that are machine learning from 3D assets so we actually get a 3D asset?
There is some prototype stuff right now. The challenge with 3D mesh is the complexity is so much greater, and the training models are so much fewer. So I do think that we're a little bit off, probably about a year or so till we really see usable 3D models. But I do want to bring Kubrick because Kubrick has done an incredible of bringing in all of this technology into the virtual production space in a very practical way that's available now. And so I think that what they have on the horizon is exactly what you're talking about, that they'll be one of the first companies we'll see actually doing that kind of technology. So Pinar, if you don't mind, I'm going to hand the mic off to you, and then we can see what's being made.
Hi everyone. First of all, are you free tonight at 6 p.m.? Raise your hands if you are free. Fantastic. You are all invited to the demo of Kubrick, a tool that makes you go from concept to camera in minutes, a tool that augments concept into final pixel by using several different AIs, including generative AI. The demo will take place at Vue Studios at, what is the address? 901 Greer Road. I made it on purpose not to show you anything, just to curb your enthusiasm and excitement, but I will be happy to tell you a little bit about what Kubrick is all about. It's a tool that we came up with while we were visiting a virtual production studio in Hollywood 6-7 months ago. We were like, okay, we're like listening to everybody talk how it is tedious and time-consuming and expensive to create in virtual engines, how much it is very costly, and how much directors usually don't understand how all of this works. And also we heard that during the production of Avatar and Batman, there was a shortage of VFX artists in the world. I don't know if you heard about it. And then we were like, who's going to make all this content if the desire and demand for extraordinary content has never been greater and will continue to be even greater? So we were like, well, all the lawyers, doctors, and accountants will stop doing their job, and will they all become like CGI artists? So we were like, why don't we create a tool that has to do with all the AIs that we have been mastering, because we are in generative AI since 2017, and since we're a team of directors. And we're like, why don't we put them all together and make them be in the service of us, our sets? So we streamlined the production of 2.5 dimension. That's how the idea came about. But Kubrick is currently welcoming way different workflows in order to serve virtual production sets. Several different AIs that make up Kubrick. Kubrick is written with a C, C-U-E-B-R-I-C. Several different AIs that make up Kubrick involve generative AI, text to image. So we're all familiar with Stable Diffusion. If Stable Diffusion is the guitar, you're all familiar with what a fuzz pedal is. That makes you sound very unique. So we created several different fuzz pedals that are cinematic, Kubrick Moody, Kubrick Hollywood, and Kubrick Sci-Fi, that yield in the creation of cinematic outputs. Tonight we will be demonstrating how native Stable Diffusion works and how native Kubrick diffusions work. The second AI is in-painting. Let's start with segmentation. Rotoscoping, like Tim said, nobody will regret not rotoscoping by hand if we were to turn rotoscoping into a one push of a button. We have two rotoscoping engines. One is depth-based segmentation that has to do with AI seeing how close or how far you are to the camera. So you basically will be sliding the diffusion engine and it will be selecting for you. The second rotoscoping engine we have is object-based segmentation that basically has to do with discerning me, the human, from the background, from the chair, from the ground. It's up to you depending which type of image you are working with. The third AI we have is in-painting. Let's say I'm the tree in front of the mountain. So you know how rotoscoping works. You have to like cut me tediously, and it's not fun. So you just push a button, and then the tool selects me and empties me, obviously, and there's a hole here. So what are you going to do? You're going to take the brush and then make the mountain, da-da-da-da-da, you know how annoying it is. Now you just have to push a button, and it will do it for you. And the fourth AI that we have is upscaling. As you know, I'm pretty sure you know, Stable Diffusion is trained on HD images. So any image that you generate that is beyond and above HD is going to create ugly artifacts, which we don't like as filmmakers. That's why we have a upscaling engine that has to do with taking HD images that you generate in our tool and upscaling them up to 16K. So since we are all perfectionists and we don't rely on AI, we rely on our creativity, we also added sprinkled Photoshop-like image editing tools. So you can very insane precisely, just like a director likes, go green screen choking, you know what it is, to go in the branches where the AI didn't select, and then you can all blur, erase, brush, color correct, da-da-da-da-da. And we have launched our tool, announced our tool, December last year, 2022. Honestly, like a bunch of naive lollipops. We were like, hey guys, we have this tool, it's for us, but what do you think? And then we were very positively showered with the interest of the industry. So we were like, okay, we're all in. It's all self-funded, it's our own funds, and we were like, okay, let's make a robust commercial tool, and tonight is the launch of the tool. And you are all invited at Vue Studios.
Well, thanks, Pinar. I was going to ask you a few questions if you don't mind.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
So you're obviously very early on some of the generative tech, and it seems like coming from that background, you have a different perspective than a lot of creators because you're seeing what the tool can do and then how it can fit in a new space. Tell us just a little bit about your background and kind of how you see this evolving.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a 1 in a million story. Maybe, I don't know. It's really quite crazy. I never told you. We're also colleagues and friends. We never told you. I was doing my own thing as a digital artist in 2017. Type of things I was doing, like I have a collection under my name in all IKEAs in the world. I made a stained glass window for a Jewish synagogue. A variety of artistic, graphical, interesting things. But then my life really changed with one email I received from Google Brain in Zurich, their main generative AI laboratory, in collaboration with Google Arts and Culture. In 2017, generative AI is not invented. It's a succession of research, accidental research of mad scientists in different companies, NVIDIA, Google, individual researchers topping on top of each other's research. And a mad scientist in the name of Alexander Morvintsev accidentally invented, he actually dreamed about it, he woke up and he started coding it. He researched into how artificial neural networks recognizes the features of objects. In simple plain English, what happens in your mind the very moment you're discerning the girl's face from the microphone? What does that moment look like? We don't know how that moment looked like. We just know. This is a microphone. So that very discovery of Google ended up looking like my body of work as an artist. And this has nothing to do with training data, Google using my artwork. It has nothing to do with that. It's much more profound than that. I've been doing very quantum type of visualizations, everything intertwined in each other. And then, of course, generative AI at the end of the day is created by parallel processors. Parallel processors are far from linear computing. So they do not understand and recognize images just like we discern microphone, chair, girl, skirt. It's much more complicated than that. So the images that they generated ended up looking like what I was doing as an artist on my own without even hearing the word AI. So they summoned me in their lab in 2017 and be like, look at this. What do you see? I'm like, what I do, my work. This is my work. So they're like, we're not an art company. We're a technology company. What can we do something that is meaningful, that is accessible, that everybody can understand because we have no opinion, about art. So I was like, why don't we make a tool for everyone to make art with, including my mother? And for a year, we worked with Google hand in hand. And in 2019, during their I/O, their biggest conference in Mountain View, this tool was presented to public, Infinite Patterns. But then this was really art. It was it was not filmmaking, it was art. And then the film component entered when I met my life partner and work partner, Gary. Gary Kepke, he's a renowned film director, commercial film director, also advertising executive whose background is in film. He worked with David Bowie. I love to say that, He made a music video for him, it's so cool. So anyways, and then he was like, Pinar, this is not the future of art, this is the future of cinema. And we were like, let's make it happen. I'm an artist, you're a filmmaker. Let's put this to use to filmmakers.
And so what's your vision for this as it continues to evolve? Because it's a spectacular tool now, but I know your roadmap for the future is even bigger than that.
Thank you. We could not name a tool that is the first in filmmaking. It could not be not named Kubrick. So it's going to evolve into a Kubrick film platform. Today we start with on-set facilities, on-set tools, but tomorrow it will grow into, I don't want to reveal too much, but a very comprehensive way of only one goal is to take away the burden out of the filmmaker's shoulders. Repetitive, unfun, tedious, boring parts of the workflow. It's all about identifying them and removing them. And it's a different type of thinking. Listen, because when you were to ask a coal miner that was working on their Titanic in 1800s, was that the year of Titanic? History class, what was the year of Titanic? 1800s? 1900s? 1930. Like I said, 1912. In 1912, if you were to ask a coal miner working under Titanic, thank you, by the way, if you were to optimize your workflow, what would you want? Unlimited funds. He would say, get me 100 more men, right? Make a bigger Titanic so we can have more fire and more coals. This is not the type of thinking I'm thinking about. It's like paradigm shifting, like, what are you not aware type of thinking. You know, how can we make people aware of the things that they are not aware, so then we can eliminate these repetitive and, I don't know, ugly parts of the work that you're like, oh, I gotta do that again. So then you're basically going concept to camera at all time in real time.
And how do you view tools? Because I know that's a big thing. Like, you come to a convention like this, and we look at cameras and microphones and displays, and those are all tools, just like that example of the coal miners, tools to get that boat to move forward, or tools to make this movie. But if the tool is your mind, you know, how do you see that in the future?
Good question. Well, you know the three-piece suits? There was a time when rich men could discern themselves from poor men by being able to afford three-piece suits. Now the richest men and women in the world wear the same jogging. I mean, their jogging is maybe like $500 and others are like 10, but still they wear jogging. So we're past the point of like your tangible physical components is to define you. What I'm getting at is that, in my opinion, there will always be a place for tangible tools for us to play with. Just like I love a custom tailored outfit when I am getting my Academy Award or whatever, you know? But you also love to wear your, you know, store-bought denim jean and wear your shoes. So there will always be place for craftsmen, always and only. Like, I'm a digital culture human being. I cannot ever read. Like, people send me articles, read my article and comment. I have to print it. My eyes cannot read digital things. It just doesn't work. So there will always be a place for, I hope there will always be a place for camera, always. But it will be a choice. Like, you will perfectly, well, you touched upon like text to 3D. It will be voice to 3D very soon. I would say 5 years, 4 years maybe. So just like, I don't know if you have seen Avengers Endgame, where Tony Stark was figuring out time travel with the Mobius strip and how it was co-creating with the holograms. Every single thing that has ever been imagined positively in science fiction is going to come true.